42, offered by Mrs. Boebert of Colorado.
Pursuant to the House Resolution 583, the gentlewoman from Colorado, Ms. Boebert, and a member opposed, each will control 5 minutes. The chair recognizes the gentlewoman from Colorado.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I rise in favor of my amendment, which prohibits Department of Defense Education Activity schools from purchasing and having pornographic and radical gender ideology books in their libraries. The Department of Defense Education Activity services over 66,000 military-connected children in the Americas, Europe, and the Pacific. My colleagues on the other side of the aisle will mischaracterize this amendment as extreme. All the while, the Biden administration has spent the last 2 years promoting radical gender ideology to impressionable young children in K-12 schools throughout our country, including our military schools. Now that's extreme. Speaking as a mother of 4 boys, enough is enough. I don't send my boys to school to receive indoctrination from the woke mob or to be sexualized by groomers. And the same can be said for our service members who are also parents sending their children to DODEA schools. I want to take some time to discuss the books that have been found in DODEA libraries that contain explicit sexual details not appropriate for children. One book titled All Boys Aren't Blue, published in April 2022, is a book included in DODEA libraries. It is described as a nonfiction manifesto by George Johnson that includes lines with sexually explicit content. The book describes oral sex, ejaculation, anal sex, pornography, and masturbation. Another book, This Book is Gay, also included in DODEA libraries, discusses the casual hookup site Grindr and includes detailed information on how to have gay anal sex. This book includes details about sex parties, orgies, and sex toys. Another book, Gender Queer, by Maya Kababi, again included in DODEA libraries, contains explicit imagery of oral sex. Middle School is a Drag by Greg Howard, included in DODEA libraries, is about a 12-year-old boy who starts a talent agency business for child drag queen performers. One of the kids he signs is an 8th grader named Mistress of Madness and Mayhem. And I see some folks getting uncomfortable in this room right now, and I would agree that this is very uncomfortable, especially for our children in K-12 schools. Another book that is found, Some Girls Bind by Rory James, included in DODEA's libraries, explores the journey of a character who questions whether she is genderqueer. The teen binds her breasts every day to feel more like herself. Chest binding is associated with some medical risks, which can be permanent. Julian is a mermaid found in DODEA elementary school libraries, describes a boy who wants to become a mermaid. During the book, the boy repeatedly strips down to his underwear. Later, he puts on lipstick and dons a headdress. He is then given a costume jewelry before being taken to the NYC Mermaid Parade, where he can freely express himself. Here's the bottom line. Let's stop grooming our children, including our military kids. It's gross, it is wrong. I am here to take a stand against it, and I urge my colleagues to pass my amendment to protect our military children from obscene content they should not be exposed to. Mr. Chair, I reserve.
Gentlelady reserves. Gentlelady from Pennsylvania. For what purpose does the gentlelady from Pennsylvania seek recognition?
Mr. Speaker, I rise in opposition to this amendment.
Gentlewoman's recognized.
Mr. Speaker, thank you. I rise in opposition to this harmful and very misguided amendment. And let's start with the facts. This amendment, dare I say, is a naked and attempt at discrimination, an attempt to ban books such as those who depict families with two moms or two dads. And to block those stories is to block the story of my own daughter and her wife, as an example. My colleagues on the other side of the aisle like to say that they are for individual rights and freedoms, but it is perhaps more accurate to say that some of them want the individual right to deny other people and other families their rights and freedoms as well. The federal government does not and should not get to choose what my children or my daughter's children read. As a parent myself, I also have children, and a former teacher. I believe that the beauty of books is in its ability to expose us to worlds and ideas that are outside of our own. Our schools should be focused on creating environments that support every student, all student, and not censoring their individual experiences. Here's where we clearly do agree. Parents across the country want their children to learn in safe and affirming environments, which is why I'm also in vehement opposition and frankly quite disgusted by some nonstop attempts that seem to be coming from our colleagues on the other side of the aisle to label content that they don't like as pornography, as a shield that frankly, in my opinion, is hiding blatant bigotry. And so I rise on behalf of my daughter and the LGBTQ people whose experiences must be told. But this bill, this amendment, doesn't stop with LGBTQ people or service members. This amendment also yields other harmful consequences. How the text is currently written would allow for further draconian and out-of-touch interpretations that could ban books simply like Judy Blume's, one that we've probably all read, those of us of a certain age and gender, Are You There, God? It's Me, Margaret, or other stories that teach young people about puberty, their bodies, or contain information about health and sexual education. America is a country of freedom of speech and freedom of ideas, and yet my colleagues across the aisle want to ban books that enable the next generation to thrive. So today I rise, dare I say, to allow people to be able to choose what they read to their children or what their children read. As a child in DODEA schools, I actually got to be exposed to this exact situation where I had the opportunity to read a lot when I was growing up in Defense Department schools. And I can't imagine a world where my parents didn't have the ability or the authority to decide what it was that I was going to be able to read. So I urge my colleagues to vote against this very harmful amendment and against all efforts that politicize and promote that politicize our military and hurt military readiness and national security. With that, I reserve.
Gentlewoman reserves. The gentleman from Colorado.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I would say that allowing these books in our DODEA schools is what's harmful.
30 seconds.
Saying that I'm characterizing this as pornography. No, I'm saying exactly what it is. As a mom, I am not allowed to show my children triple X-rated videos, nor would I. That is illegal. They have to be 18 to watch this. We have ratings on things. I am simply saying, do not allow this in our children's schools. This is something that is harmful. It is grooming our children and indoctrinating them, and I urge adoption of this amendment to put an end to it in our military schools.
Gentlelady's time has expired. Gentlelady from Pennsylvania.
Mr. Speaker, how much time do I have?
Gentlelady has 2 minutes remaining.
I yield my 1 minute and 30 seconds to my colleague, Representative Sykes.
Gentlelady is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I didn't come to Congress to play politics. I came here to put the needs of Ohio's 13th Congressional District first, not to vote on bogus, oppressive, extreme, barbaric, erroneous, ridiculous, time-wasting amendments like this one. Unfortunately, I cannot say the same for my colleagues who are choosing to play partisan games with our national security by including amendments that would strip life-saving reproductive health care away from our women in uniform. This is nothing more than the latest attempt by House Republicans to advance their extreme agenda, taking us backward by punishing women and banning abortion nationwide. As the vice chair of the Bipartisan Women's Caucus, we just recently honored and recognized our women in uniform. But today, we are dishonoring those women. Our military was founded to protect our freedoms. Politicians should not be making healthcare decisions for any woman, but especially not for our women in uniform who serve us each and every day. I cannot support any legislation that impedes on a woman's freedom to make decisions about her healthcare, even if it is no longer constitutionally protected. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I yield back.
Gentlelady yields. Gentlelady from Pennsylvania.
Decorum, I would ask that we not scream at each other.
Agreed. Gentlewoman is recognized.
I reserve.
Gentlelady has 30 seconds remaining.
I'm prepared to.
One minute remaining.
I'm prepared to conclude. But I don't believe
the gentlelady has the only time remaining in debate.
That's my understanding as well. Excellent. I would just urge my colleagues, please, to vote against this harmful amendment and other amendments similarly, who are working very much to destroy and distract from what I think is really important, which is the national security of our nation. And with that, I yield back.
Gentlelady yields back. All time has expired for debate. The question is on the amendment offered by the gentlelady from Colorado. Those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed say no. In the opinion of the chair, the ayes have it.
Mr. Speaker, I would ask for a recorded vote.
Pursuant to Clause 6 of Rule 18, further proceedings on the amendment by the gentlewoman from Colorado will be postponed. What do we got now? Yeah, I got it. The chair understands that the amendment number 36 will not be offered. The chair understands that the amendment number 37 will not be offered. The chair understands that the amendment number 38 will not be offered. The chair understands that the amendment number 39 will not be offered. It is now in order to consider amendment number 40, printed in the House Report 118-142. For what purpose does the gentleman from Ohio seek recognition?
Mr. Speaker, I have an amendment at the desk.
The clerk will designate the amendment.
Amendment number 40, printed in House Report number